This is the brand new Celebrity Ascent, coming in at a reported cost of $900 million. dollars. It is the fourth ship in the cruise line's Edge series, and it is insane. The cruise line recently invited me aboard for a sneak peek of the ship, including getting to see some spots that most people never get to experience. Believe me, there are some jaw-dropping things here that you do not want to miss. I'll show you everything, including those behind-the-scenes spots, so you can see it all for yourself right now. Now, a little disclosure, I've taken a lot of cruises. I mean, a lot. I've sailed brand new ships. I've sailed ships so old that they're now scrapped. And I've been on any major line that you can think of. But there was one cruise line in particular that I had yet to sail until now: Celebrity Cruises. For those of you that don't know much about Celebrity, it's part of the Royal Caribbean group. It's aimed at a more upscale experience. You can think of it in car terms to get an idea. Just like Toyota has the upscale Lexus brand, Royal Caribbean offers the nicer Celebrity brand. But this isn't just a nicer Royal Caribbean ship, it's something completely different. I'll be honest with you, I've always just kind of considered Celebrity to be another cruise line. That was a huge mistake. Yes, I knew it aimed to be more upscale, but I've been on enough cruise ships and seen enough fancy rooms to know that every ship has something to offer passengers that want to spend more money. MSC, which is known as a very budget-friendly cruise line, has the yacht club on board that's more exclusive and private. Royal Caribbean, meanwhile, they have some insane suites that sell for literally tens of thousands of dollars per cruise. So, as I'm walking onto this ship for the first time, I was honestly expecting more of the same. Sure, a nice ship, but not anything that I hadn't seen before. That's where I was completely wrong. Celebrity Ascent, just flat out, it is nice. I don't mean it has nice parts or cool areas. I mean, from bow to stern, this ship is like nothing else I've sailed on. And for people that are Celebrity fans, my understanding is that the other Edge class ships like Edge, Apex, and beyond, they are very similar. So if you are someone that has sailed these ships before, then you know exactly what I am talking about. You enter the ship near the Grand Plaza, which is a multi-story atrium centered around the Martini Bar. This is a great initial introduction to the style and the atmosphere of this cruise ship. There are no wood tones or heavy chrome accents like on traditional cruise ships. The spot, it just oozes with contemporary style. It's wide, open, and airy. This isn't meant to be a nice cruise ship, it is built to be a nice resort. My first thought was if you took a spa and use that as inspiration for the entire ship's design. The colors are calming, the lighting is always perfect, even the music is a relaxing mix that provides some white noise to the ship without being intrusive. But what really caught my attention was the space around the ship. First, it should be noted that this inaugural sailing was only about 2/3 full, but even imagining most spaces with a full capacity ship still left plenty of space for everyone. More than that, however, there was obviously a lot of thought put into designing a ship that felt spacious everywhere. Hallways around Ascent are wider, from the cabin hallways to those around the interior areas of the ship. There are also lots of spots from the solarium to the Grand Plaza to the ship's theater that cover multiple decks. The result, it makes for long sightlines and a really open and airy feeling. This trend even goes down to the cabin doorways, which seem the width of a regular door at home instead of the relatively narrow cabin doors found on most ships. If you've ever had a cramped feeling that can come with cruising, it is solved on Celebrity Ascent. And then I saw my cabin for the first time. For this short sneak peek, Celebrity put me up in a suite in the retreat. Along with nice rooms in this area is a lounge area and an outdoor pool and sun deck that is available only to the guests staying in this area. There's also a private restaurant for passengers in the retreat. The room, it's styled the same as any other cabin on the ship, but the luxury is off the charts. Now, I will say that normally I'm paying out of pocket and staying in an interior or an ocean view cabin. If I'm taking a longer cruise or cruising with family, then I'll spring the extra money for a balcony. But while I visited and toured plenty of suites, I've never actually cruised in one. This room was ridiculous. First, there's simply plenty of space. There's no having to contort yourself around a bed to get from one end of the room to the other. The bathroom, it features a full shower and tub, there are double sinks, and even this cool window that looks out over the bedroom and the balcony, but you can close it for a mirror and for privacy. You can even open and close the blinds via the touchscreen on the wall or through the app on your phone at the touch of a button. To be honest, however, the price tag is eye-watering. I priced a cruise with an interior cabin that started around $750 per person, and a room in the retreat started at $4,500 per person. Now you do get extras like the drink package and Wi-Fi, but that's 6 times as much. Maybe you've got the bucks, but despite loving this room, I know that I wouldn't get 6 times the enjoyment despite the exclusive spaces and the nice cabin. But no matter how you want to travel, there is a cabin on the ship that will fit you and your budget. And one nice thing is that the theme of space continues throughout all the available staterooms. There's simply more space everywhere. I wouldn't mind staying at all in an interior cabin as it felt comfy, and though certainly not large, it was larger than many that I've stayed before. And one feature that's different on Celebrity is the use of infinite balconies, although the cruise line calls them infinite verandas. With these rooms, the far wall of the cabin is simply one large window. You press a button and the top half of the window slides down, essentially making the entire room into a balcony. Now, there are still bifold doors that can be opened and closed to separate a balcony area, and a blackout shade that closes the area for sleeping. Frankly, however, you could give me a shoebox, and I'd be happy if it meant that I got to enjoy the rest of this ship. It's hard to overstate just how nice Celebrity Ascent is unless you've sailed it or one of its sister ships. While videos don't do it justice, I want to highlight some spots on board before I take you behind the scenes. Now, I already mentioned the Grand Plaza a couple times, but it is a primary spot on the ship and the place to be in the evening. There's seating around the edges, bartenders that do fancy acrobatics while they mix the drinks, there's restaurants lining the decks on both sides, and a massive light fixture in the middle. During the evening, live music is played, and there's simply no better spot to enjoy a fun evening out with a lot of energy. The theater on Ascent is amazing. Instead of a traditional theater setup, Ascent features a round room with a circular stage in the middle. That alone provides more visually interesting views, but it is really just the start. Around the back of the stage are 5 floor-to-ceiling screens that can also move and slide around the stage. During the shows, the visual backdrops are stunning, providing an amazing backdrop that just cannot be replicated with the traditional stage set. In addition, there are stage segments that rise and fall, a spot in the center of the ceiling where acrobats drop down and swing, there are lights everywhere, and there's so much more. Of course, all of this speaks nothing to the talent of the performers themselves, who are simply world class. If you want to be by the pool, you have 2 main options. First is the general pool deck that features a large pool, some great artwork including this chrome octopus, and twin hot tubs that sit up over the deck like flower blooms. The solarium is an amazing space that spans multiple decks with a domed ceiling. The atmosphere is calm and serene with its own pool and twin hot tubs. One feature of the Edge series ships and continued on Ascent is the rooftop garden. This is an open space on the top deck that features seating and a park-like atmosphere. There are pools nearby, but it's more of just a relaxing spot. There's also a large screen that features sporting events, yoga classes during the day, and a whole lot more. Another signature space in the class that's aboard Ascent is known as Eden. Now, it's hard to describe the area as it's somewhere to be entertained, to grab a bite to eat, or just to lounge. It's multiple stories and with lots of natural light and located aft of the ship with great outdoor views. During the day, it's relaxed and a great place to unwind. During the evening, the crew puts on performances, and there's also a high-end restaurant that you can eat. And speaking of unwind, the Sunset Bar at the back of the ship is pretty snazzy. It's a multi-level area with a lot of intimate spaces to enjoy the company of someone while taking in nice views. What about food? Food is a major part of any cruise, and that stays true for Ascent. All told, there are more than a dozen restaurants around the ship. In general, the food in the restaurants, they tend to be more elevated. If you're really into high-end food, then you are in luck. I will say that those with simpler tastes do have options, but you will need to look around a little bit more. Free spots to eat. They include the Ocean View Cafe, which is the ship's large buffet with more space than I've ever seen on a cruise ship. It serves everything from pizza to literally lobster tails on the last day of the cruise. There is a small cafe in Eden with salad and sandwiches and light fare at the Spa Cafe. You can also just grab a burger or sandwich at the Mass Grill if you want something easy. For dinner, there are 4 main dining restaurants that are included in your fare. Each of these, Cyprus, Tuscan, Normandy, and Cosmopolitan, they have the same menu, but each of them has a special section of appetizers and entrees that's unique from the other restaurants to provide you with more variety. Now, you could definitely eat during your cruise without spending extra, but that will limit your options on Ascent. There are a large number of specialty restaurants and most focused on an elevated dining experience. This is everything from French cuisine to steakhouse to sushi and a lot of pretty fancy stuff. Now, I will be honest, my time on the ship was relatively short on this cruise, so I didn't get a chance to really do much more than scratch the surface of what's offered. My takeaway was that as someone with relatively simple tastes, I do like trying new dishes, but not for every meal. Having a few more comfort food items easily available would have been nice, but that was really far from a deal breaker. Now, just seeing the ship and being aboard was a cool experience in itself, but then I got some behind the scenes access that was among the neatest experiences on a ship I've ever had. Since this cruise didn't feature any ports, the day started with trying out the tender boats where we took out the new boats for a spin, with one of the actual captains of the ship serving as the surprise pilot. All of us got some great views of Ascent, and they even drag raced the other tender boat down the length of the ship, which of course our boat won. From there, we got to go behind the scenes of the theater that I told you about earlier. This included going behind the actual stage and up to the spot where performers drop down from the ceiling, which, if you're weird about heights like I am, meant some adrenaline pumping. We also saw the costume department, the lighting area, and then behind those massive screens to see how they work. They even let us ride up and down on the stage. But by far, the highlight was seeing the engine control room and the bridge of Celebrity Ascent. These are spots that the vast majority of passengers will never get to see, although there are some behind the scenes tours available. The engine control room, it's tucked away on a lower deck behind a couple of fairly nondescript doors. But here, they have a complete view of all the operations on the ship, including things like alarms, and not just the engines, but the exhaust scrubbers, water production, and tons more. It's essentially the brain of the ship. It's the chance to go to the ship's bridge, however, that I will not soon forget. If you're imagining a big ship's wheel, yeah, those days are over. Today, it's all electronic, from the maps to steering with lots of computers. In fact, during the day at sea, we were actually sitting still in the water. Instead of dropping anchor, however, the ship's computers were able to just hold a position using the azipods and the bow thrusters. So what's the final takeaway? Let's say that if you have an upcoming cruise on Ascent, then I'm not just confident that you'll enjoy the ship, I'm actually jealous that you are getting to sail. This was my first ever cruise aboard Celebrity, and it definitely left me impressed. Now, I will say it will not be for everyone. If you want a cheap getaway, that is hard to find. Prices are higher, not just on the cruise fare, but for things like drinks on the ship. And if you are a family sailing with kids, it might not be the right ship or line. Kids are definitely welcome, and there is a kids area for them to play while parents enjoy themselves. Outside of that, however, there isn't a ton, especially on the pool deck. Other lines and ships, frankly, they would be better. However, those cruise passengers that are wanting a more sophisticated cruise, think a honeymoon or an anniversary, or simply someone who appreciates luxury, they will find Ascent to be a perfect fit.